Sharing. It's the buzzword of the moment. We share memories, experiences, ideas. We share our entire lives on social media, and even our homes when we go on holiday. We live digital lives and want to stay connected wherever we are. However, there are still places where, for many reasons, accessing the internet remains a challenge. These are remote, hard to reach and sparsely populated areas. In these places, but also in certain urban centers with high demand, operators join forces and share infrastructure to ensure proper service. They share so we can keep sharing. Since the start of the Industrial Revolution, rural depopulation has been a constant trend. In countries like the UK, Italy or France, cities grew and modernized at the same pace that rural areas emptied out.
Battled their way into the city's outskirts.
In the first half of the 20th century, the two world wars accelerated the shift. Factory jobs drew young people from across the country into urban centers. Globally, in 1960, 66% of the world's population lived in rural areas. Today, that number is down to just 44% and it's still falling. However, thanks to technology, new initiatives are emerging as real alternatives to life in the city. I want you to meet Elio Lopez and his story with cows. For that, we are heading to Abadín, a village of just 3,000 inhabitants in Galicia, in the northwest of Spain. Good morning, Elio, how are you doing?
Hi, how are you?
Welcome. You come from a farming family and you work in livestock farming, is that right?
Yeah, I coming from a family farm in Galicia, in the northwest of Spain. And livestock has always been part of my life. I grew up surrounded by animals, mainly cows, of course. And that experience led me to study veterinary medicine. And during my university years, I started thinking about how technology could help make farm work easier.
And after all that thinking, what ideas did you come up with to manage your herd more easily? And also, how does technology play in it?
We came up with like a smartwatch for cows that is called Rumi, and which uses technology to monitor animal behavior in real time. The collar that is here has a solar panel and take all the information from the animal. We know if the animal is resting, pasturing, walking, ruminating. We know all the information from the animal, and we send the data to the cloud, and then we analyze with artificial intelligence to send alerts to the farmer.
You live in a very remote area. How do you manage to have a stable connection?
Maintaining a stable connection in this type of areas is a challenge because there's no people on these places, just animals. And in our case, it's possible to LoRack technology that is low powered and low range network that is perfect for farms with limited internet of mobile coverage. And the callers send the data to this gateway that is on the farm. The gateway sends the data to the cloud, and the farmer could see the information wherever they are.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your project with Cellnex in Portugal?
With Cellnex in Portugal, we have done a pilot project in a rural area with more than 6,000 hectares in the south of Portugal, with no mobile coverage there. And Cellnex put the antennas and take the coverage for the fields, and we just have to take the collars and put to the animals, and we already have the whole system running.
That's a great initiative. How has it changed your life?
Creating this initiative has completely transformed my personal and professional path. What started as a student project between my best friend and me, we help farmers across Spain and other countries like Portugal, United States, New Zealand, and Although I'm no longer involved in hands-on farm work, I feel more connected than ever to the agricultural world.
What do you hope the future holds for your farm?
I hope my family farms continue growth sustainably, but combining tradition with innovation.
Elio, thank you very much for your story. For the data from Elio's cow smartwatch to reach his computer, one thing is essential: internet access. However, low population density in rural areas makes it very difficult for telecom operators to justify investing in full coverage. It is a complex process. The European Union provides funding and sets the regulatory framework. National and regional governments create strategic plans and launch tenders. Local councils and cooperatives help provide installation sites. And finally, private operators roll out or share infrastructure in collaboration with infrastructure companies. It is at this final step that sharing comes into play.
Shared infrastructures is an infrastructure that can be used with many operators at the same time. So, for example, a pylon that can be used with different operators to build their radio access network. That plays a crucial role on enabling usage for multiple operators. So, while operators, we also compete for the market share and for the customers, and to bring the difference to our customers, we also compete on the prices and so on. And the technology as well, we also collaborate in the discussion and negotiation for all what is regulatory issues. So it's both, I would say it's competition, but at the same time collaboration.
Building a single communication tower in a remote area is both costly and complex. Each section of a tower can weigh over a ton, and tons of concrete are needed for the foundation. The total cost can reach into the millions. The location is assessed to ensure desired coverage and technical feasibility. A solid base is built using either concrete or metal, depending on the tower type and ground conditions. The tower is assembled section by section, lifted by cranes and secured with bolts and welds. Antennas are installed and connected to transmission and reception equipment, ensuring proper alignment. To understand how complex this is, let's go to Cellnex headquarters in France. Good morning, Thomas Bertrand.
Hello, good morning.
Thomas, let's begin talking about the societal benefits of telecom operators sharing infrastructure.
Well, the first benefit of sharing infrastructure is to make sustainable investment in expanding coverage and quality of service for mobile operators. This is an infrastructure business, and this requires a lot of investment. So the more you share and the more sustainable is your business model. The second benefit is for environmental and carbon footprint reduction for mobile networks, because a mobile tower has a very heavy carbon footprint, and therefore the less you build new sites, new tower, the better for the environment, because you mutualize the impact.
Very interesting points that you marked out. What is the biggest technical challenge of building this communication tower in hard-to-access areas?
Bringing connectivity in rural area is a challenge. It's a combination of logistical, environmental, technological constraints. There is a physical accessibility of the site sometimes which is difficult. There is not even a road, so we use helicopters sometimes to reach remote areas. You have problems of connectivity. You don't have fiber, so you need to have possibility to use microwave links. Sometimes you are in a constrained environment with difficult weather. For example, in high mountains area, you cannot operate and install towers at every time of the year because of wind or cold or extreme temperature. No?
We are mainly speaking about remote areas, but can cities also be a good scenario for sharing infrastructure?
Absolutely. So in cities, many of our sites are on rooftops, and on rooftops, by definition, you have four corners. So good news, we have four operators. So what we try to do is to negotiate with the owner of the buildings a site agreement that allows to install the 4 operators on the roof and to have one rent for all of them. It's a very important challenge for us to do mutualization, co-location on rooftops in city centers, because city centers are constrained environment and there are not so many good candidates for radio constraints, but also for environmental constraints, because it's in very beautiful city center you cannot put an antenna everywhere.
Given what you're saying, one would think that sharing infrastructure is the future of the sector. Is that right?
Absolutely. Sharing the future. It's the future of Cellnex, but it's also the future of telecommunication. I think there is not anymore a differentiation between mobile operators by having their standalone owned infrastructure that competes with the other one. There is no need anymore to overbuild infrastructure one next to each other. We now have infrastructure operators which are experts like Cellnex that can really bring a new model, the neutral host model. This is our model, and this is definitely the future.
Thomas, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your thoughts.
Nomads, come home. Come to the pueblo, this pueblo.
Hello, this is Juan, Rural co-founder and CEO. And what we are doing at Rural is we are making rural areas sexy again. So how are we doing that? So we grew up with the narrative that success was in big cities, and job opportunities and innovation and design. And what we are doing now that we have high-speed internet in rural areas is to make sure that people have what they need in order to remote work from small rural areas that are at risk of disappearing. So how do we do that? We work with small villages of less than 500 people so that they are ready to give accommodation, working space, and then engage in a lot of activities so that people can try how it is to live in a small, remote rural area that has the authenticity and the best cultural immersion. So if you're fantasizing about rural life, want to have time to decompress, to be in nature, to connect with the amazing local community, come and join the pueblo, join the village.
Who hasn't felt the urge at some point to leave behind the stress of the city life and move to the countryside? Breathing clean air and embracing a slower pace sounds tempting. And while everything in life has its pros and cons, the truth is that thanks to technology, it's becoming easier to enjoy the best of both worlds.
More good stuff, Adela. Thanks. Hey everybody, I'm back for another rapid recap of this episode. So let's get started. First, cows have smartwatches, folks. What's next? Penguins with a selfie stick? Huh? A toaster with an app? It already exists? Why? Anyway, it seems like today everything is connected. But in fact, there are still some places where it's easier to find a Sasquatch than a reliable connection. And how are they fixing that? Simple. Teamwork makes the stream work. That's point number 2. Collaboration on infrastructure is bringing high speed to both corn growers and festival goers. Third, country living is much more appealing with connectivity. You can sit out, have your coffee, enjoy the fresh air and the views of your Instagram feed. But hey, at least your Zoom background is going to be real, right? That's it. That's all I have to share with you for this Zero Latency Roundup. We'll see you around the next time. Thanks.